Hi, I'm Ken Scott, Head of Inspectorate with the Sports Ground Safety Authority. Welcome to the second of these three videos put together to discuss the SG02 guidance document, Planning for Social Distancing at Sports Grounds. This video covers chapters 3 and 4 of the guidance, which looks at issues connected with management.
As a reminder, this guidance is supplementary to the 6th edition of the Guide to Safety at Sports Grounds, also known as the Green Guide, and should be used in parallel with the Green Guide.
In going through the contents of SG02, I'll be presuming that you've all read the guidance in full. You should also watch all three of these videos to ensure that you have a full understanding of the concepts covered. If you have any questions about the contents of the video, please submit it via the SGSA website at sgsa.org.uk/SG02 videos. A fundamental principle of the Green Guide is that responsibility for all people within a sports ground lies at all times with the venue management. This responsibility extends to social distancing requirements and compliance with those requirements. As there are a few areas of consideration that could be outside of the skill set of the venue management team, it may be that support from competent persons is sought to assist. The need for management to conduct risk assessments follows the principles of the Green Guide. The mitigation of the risk from COVID-19 will, out of necessity, mean that additional measures will need to be put in place. The normal risk assessment process should be followed, that is, identifying the hazards, determination of whether to use method 1 or method 2 as the basis for the social distance rule for measurement, evaluating the risks. This will include risks arising from the venue, its circulation routes, seating rows, popular standing areas, concourses, and risks associated with celebrations and moments of high excitement will need to also be evaluated, as will be the risks in Zone 5 and Zone X in the external areas away from the venue. All findings should be recorded and then reviewed for adequacy. And as we're still learning about COVID-19, and because of its unpredictable nature, the assessments will need to be kept under constant review. Management responsibilities will fall into the basic categories of legislation, the need for management to be aware of all legislation relating to sports grounds, not just in the more common areas of sports ground safety, but also in the wider safety areas involving government guidance and public health information, both at a local and national level. Staffing, understanding how or if staffing could be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of the loss of key members of the safety team. Advanced planning. Preparation is the key word here, so carrying out a review and updating of affected parts of the operations manual is essential, as is the development of a social distancing management plan. At sports grounds where matches have already taken place without spectators, an employee filling the role of COVID-19 officer will already be in post. For those yet to set out playing matches, this will be a new task to identify the person to fill this very responsible role. The role does not require medical skills or qualification, but will be supportive of the medical planning for the event. And in some smaller venues, the role has already been subsumed within the role of the safety officer or deputy. This, however, may not be the best solution for larger venues where time and scope does not allow for the full consideration of all COVID-19 issues. Staffing and resilience are key considerations also. Management should at the earliest opportunity engage with all staff to check any health concerns which they may have to see if they are happy to take on duties under social distancing rules. It should be made clear that this is an opt-in process without penalty or discrimination for anyone who chooses not to take part. Good lines of communication are needed at point of ticket sales so that individuals can carry out their risk assessment to determine whether to attend the event. Confidence building could play a part in the return of spectators to events, and so a description of measures in place will be important in reassuring spectators and will help them to make an informed judgment on whether to return or not. It's also important to make clear the need to supply details of those purchasing tickets to assist in test and trace in the event of an infection being identified. The Code of Conduct is a simple reminder of the social responsibilities of fans and how they can make a significant difference to limiting the spread of infection by conforming to the requests of the stadium, by practicing social distancing and staying within permitted social groupings. The ticketing plan will be a key tool used by venues to determine the most efficient fan grouping whilst recognising the limits of permitted social groupings. Admittance should be by ticket with no sales on the day and with surface-to-surface contact limited as much as possible, and where unavoidable, then hand cleaning gel should be available. Good communications before the event are important on many levels. Certainly in terms of regaining the confidence of the public to re-engage with large groups of people, and this is where venues, in setting out clearly the lengths that they are going to, can help in the reassurance of those undecided spectators. The communication should also extend to information about modes of transport and capacity of local public transport providers. Socially distanced public transport is likely to place an additional burden on car parking as spectators switch to private forms of transport. Also to communicate our preferred arrival and entry times, if it's to be expected that there will be queues likely. The flattening of the entry peak will not only help to smooth the passage through the entry points, but also help to protect against unwanted tourist activity around large groups of people. Any changes to normal routes of passage should be identified at the earliest point to allow spectators to plan for alternative arrangements. The limited size of many concourses will, I suspect, in many cases lead to concourses only being used for thoroughfare. That is, without the normal food and beverage offer. If this is to be the case, spectators should be made aware, if necessary, they can then plan to bring food and beverage with them. Exiting and dispersal at the end may need to be coordinated to help ease pressures on exit systems and also on the surrounding streets. If this is to be the case, spectators should be informed so that they can factor this into their event day planning. It's also important to continue with good lines of communication with spectators during the event. Examples could be the reminders to social distance, arrangements for transport, exiting arrangements, or essentially any messages which need to be relayed to those inside the venue. And it should be remembered that in the case of all communications, consideration should be given to those with any hearing or sight disability, with appropriate measures put in place to compensate. It's probably worth reminding at this point that where options remain to purchase items, a cashless environment would be the preferred choice, and the importance of creating queuing systems that are also socially distancing compliant. A COVID-19 medical plan must be developed as part of the overall planning obligations of the venue, through engagement with the venue medical coordinator in the revision of the overarching medical plan. In all of the planning for a biosecure, socially distanced venue, sight of the needs of those with many varying forms of disability must not be lost. The measures needed to protect against the transmission of COVID-19 must not in any way compromise the rights or the quality of experience of disabled spectators or any vulnerable individuals present in the venue. Zone X coordination is a key area in need of understanding, especially in terms of primacy of role for acting within, and will need collaborative effort for management under COVID-19 restrictions. This will be of particular importance in managing the safe arrival and particularly the safe departure of spectators to ensure that the expected social distancing measures can be maintained at times of peak usage. And clearly, given the added complexity of venue design and management, it would be of great benefit to have a ramped event of lower capacity ahead of any event at which the maximum COVID-19 capacity was expected to attend. Venues should always aspire to the promotion of the highest standards of hygiene and limiting the indirect transmission of virus by interaction of people with their surroundings. Therefore, the need to identify common touch points, such as seats, barriers, card terminals, door handles, toilet fittings should be of paramount importance, and leading to the development of cleaning schedules for before, during and after events. Communication with supporters that all transactions should be contactless, and the removal of any promotional material will help to create a cleaner environment. PPE where needed should be appropriate for use, with staff not being expected to supply their own. And where staff are expected to change from their normal clothing into a workday uniform, then an environment should be provided for them to keep their clothes in a safe place whilst they're at work. Hand sanitizer stations should be located at strategic points and positions to avoid obstruction, for instance, next to any unavoidable touch points. It's worth pointing out that toilet facilities will be severely impacted upon by social distancing measures. To apply social distancing, a number of facilities will need to be taken out of use, and at peak times, long queues could arise. This will be compounded by the need to wash hands as per health guidance. The placement of additional facilities and/or the attempted reduction of usage at normal peak times, for instance, half time in the case of football, could help to resolve any shortfall. And finally, specialist advice must be taken in areas of ventilation and air conditioning. So in closing, the final video of this series covers chapters 5 to 9. It will look at all of the issues related to movement and circulation. We will also be holding dedicated webinars on the guidance at the start of September. And hopefully that also there will be a training course available following after that. So if you haven't already done so, please register your interest on our website at the address shown on the screen now. Thank you for watching.